me some of your favorite moments in Survivor Series history, Jim. What stands out to you?
I think one of my earliest ones that sticks out is the when all the Hart brothers wrestled together in Boston, 93.
93, yeah.
And that was the start of the Bret Owen feud. Because Bret got thrown into the ropes, knocked Owen, or Owen got thrown in the ropes, knocked Bret off. Owen got pinned. He was the only brother eliminated. Which led to the tag team title match against the Quebecers at Royal Rumble, which led to the WrestleMania 10 match, and then that feud was off and running. Because I was always a Hart guy, so to see Bruce and Keith and Owen and Bret together, and it was cool. Like I was and I always enjoyed the pay-per-views around Thanksgiving, and I think even like back then it was today, the night before.
Yeah.
So that's the first one that sticks up my mind. I mean, in recent years, of course, you had the Undertaker's 25th anniversary, you had the Undertaker's retirement, unfortunately in the Thunderdome. But the Bret Hart, the Hart Brothers stuff is what sticks out first when you said that to me.
I need to watch it again. It's been a long time since I watched that Survivor Series 93. It's been a long time. What about you, Rob?
See, well, I go all the way back to the first one, and so for me, because that was the first time Hogan and Andre were going to be in the ring together since WrestleMania 3.
That's correct,
and that was such a big deal. And so when and look, the match was laid out perfectly where they didn't get in the ring together until like the big turning point in the match. And then the way that the twist happened, that Hogan got counted out.
Yeah.
And then, Bam Bam Bigelow was left in there with Andre, King Kong Bundy, and the one man gang.
Yeah.
And he just looked like dead man walking.
Yep.
And the way he, and then he beats Bundy, and then he barely survives the one man gang, and then it's him and Andre, and he gets on his feet like, all right, let's go. And he puts up a little bit of a fight, but then Andre beats him, and Andre is the sole survivor. And for me, it's like one of the forgotten parts of that show is after that match is over, like Bobby Heenan and Andre are doing like this promo to close the show, and it's one of the, for me, it's the best promo that Heenan ever did. And because he's animated, he's excited, because Hogan, after the match, Hogan ran out there and attacked Andre, and and Heenan just played off of that, and he was like, "Yeah, you couldn't handle it, could you? It hit you right here."
Oh, it was an amazing promo. Yep.
Yeah. And he's like, you just couldn't take it, could you? And he's like, guess what? Now you're gonna have to see him again, right? And for me, that was the best promo Heenan ever did, because
I'm not sure if that promo is actually on the network. I know it was on the original Coliseum home video version, which I used to own. I gotta make sure it's on there, because that promo. You're right. That promo is amazing.
Because Heenan, he would always say funny stuff and all of that, and to me, like he wasn't funny, that he was dead serious.
Yeah.
And to me, that was the best one he ever did.
Again, it's why we've been saying, we said on the Retro podcast, Rob, with me and DJ weeks ago. This is why he's, to me, the greatest manager of all time. Right there.
Yeah, and it's just, it was just dripping with all the disdain he had for Hogan, but also just glee that he had gotten one up on Hogan. And to me, it was, and so for me, it's going back, it was that one. And look, I enjoyed the brand split stuff that happened the last few years. A lot of people didn't like it. I enjoyed a lot of that stuff. Because we just did a watch along from 2017. We watched Charlotte and Alexa Bliss, and then AJ Styles and Brock Lesnar. And those were just some excellent. There were a lot of excellent matches that came out of the brand warfare stuff. And then yesterday we watched the three-way men's elimination match from 2019 that had like the big showdown at the end between Roman and Keith Lee.
That one.
I never understood like the people that go like, well, why are the brands fighting? Like, who gives, like, why is anybody fighting in wrestling? Like,
yeah, and they very smartly, the kind of champion versus champion matches that happened every year, most of the time they very smartly had kept the people apart from each other most of the year.
Yeah, I always like those, but like, you know, and I remember the one year when they did like a draft, like, what, a couple weeks before, and people were like, well, why are the guys that are just drafted to SmackDown care about wrestling for SmackDown? I'm like, you know that in sports there's like a trade deadline near the end of the season, right? Like
Yeah.
in the NHL, the trade deadline is like 5 weeks before the end of the year. You think a guy that gets traded from like hell, case in point with your Washington Commanders, you think Chase Young isn't going to care about playing for the 49ers right now because he played for Washington for the first 10 weeks? Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, what are we taught? Like, he got
Right.
they're now are on the SmackDown brand. Like, that is the brand that traded for them. Why wouldn't they want to win for their new brand? Like, that doesn't. I'm like, the people that like don't understand why somebody just traded to a brand would care about fighting for them are telling on themselves that they're not sports fans.
Right. And like when I remember when Clyde Drexler got traded to Houston late in the season.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because he wasn't going anywhere in Portland anymore. He got traded to Houston to play with Hakeem, and they won the title.
Yeah,
right?
in 2018 when the Capitals won the Stanley Cup, they made a trade that brought a defenseman from the Blackhawks to the Capitals that was probably, and he was a third line defenseman on the Blackhawks, and he ended up by the end of the year becoming a top line defenseman for the Caps, and was probably the backbone of the reason solidifying that blue line as to why the Caps won the Stanley Cup. He went from a team that was in the dumps to a team that was a possible contender, and it made the difference. And he bought in, and he was all in from day one when he got there. So yeah, the brand. I never had a problem with the brand split stuff.
By the way, back to what Rob was saying with the first Survivor Series. My favorite moment of that whole show is Howard Finkel, the sole survivor.
Yeah.
To me, that was the impact, of Andre winning that Survivor Series, and the way he said that.
The thing was so good.
God, he was so good. To me, honestly, and I was asking before we get to the Survivor Series this year. To me, the most impactful Survivor Series, though, honestly, in hindsight, look back now, those late 90s Survivor Series, specifically 96, 97, of course, what happened in 97, and 98, to me, are the most consequential Survivor Series we've ever had. 96, of course, you had a title change with Sid and Sean, debut The Rock, classic.
Brett and Austin.
That's what I'm saying. That it gets lost because of the Mania match. It gets lost, but that's a great match also too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then 97, of course, the Montreal Screwjob. We know history of that one. 98, arguably one of the greatest swerves of all time with The Rock going heel and going with McMahon to the tournament. I mean, to me, those Survivor Series to me stick out the most for me. Like I think I appreciate them more now than I did in the moment. But I have to ask you this because go ahead.
Yeah, because you look at the screw job, and I'm not going to go long form because it's the most talked about thing. But like we've done deep dives on how many things would be different potentially if Brett stayed in WWF.
Oh my God!
I mean, it's insane, and to not be morbid, like, I mean, the path that Shawn Michaels was on, and the fact that if Brett stays, and maybe they keep the title on until the Royal Rumble. Like, there's a possibility Shawn's not in the casket match, doesn't get hurt, doesn't have to leave, doesn't get clean. Like, he was not on a good road, man. So like, and the Owen tragedy may not happen. The Bulldog having the trapdoor incident in WCW, which got him back on pills. Like the number of tragedies and some triumphs that came out of that night and the way it went down and all of that is pretty insane if you really start to dig into it.
It's the biggest what if in wrestling history, in my opinion. It really is.
Without question.
Yeah.
To me. Without question.
So anyway, let's get to this year's